Black Americans find themselves in a position where we exist in a country that is always kind of through legal means, through artificial means, and then just by way of practice has always put us on this bottom rung of society where whoever comes in after us enjoys, they get to be viewed as, well, at least they're not down here with the black folks. And I do have evidence to kind of back this up. So if we look at how Italian immigrants came into America, and we need to understand the concept of how we classified different races and things like that in America. So all immigrants that came from European countries or the European were not considered white when they first came over to America. Irish people for a long time weren't considered white. Italians were not considered white. And so I'm talking specifically narrowly about Italian immigrants. When Italian immigrants came over, they are forced into community with black people because they weren't allowed to live in the white neighborhoods. The reason why is there was a crossing of culture. There was a cultural exchange that happened between the two. And so that's why a lot of modern day food down in New Orleans has an Italian touch and an Italian flair and an African flair and a Spanish flair because you had these communities that had collapsed into one another that were forced to be next to each other due to proximity. But then when there was a need for resources or labor or even investment capital, all of these people that weren't considered white ended up kind of getting promoted up to white and being allowed to live in the white communities, but black people were still left in the community that they had always occupied. They were still segregated in the black part of the community, while a lot of other groups were allowed to move away and kind of integrate more with white folks. That's really what's happened. And so, and if you want a record of this, go back and look at turn of the century era soul food cookbooks, specifically from specific regions down south like Louisiana, Mississippi, place in Alabama. You know, you're going to in some of these cookbooks you're going to find your typical soul food fare, and then you're going to find stuff like spaghetti.